And we are back, and we were chatting about shoulder replacements, and we're talking specifically right now about reverse shoulder replacement. And it's fascinating. For the people who may not have seen the first half of this, talk a little bit about what it is and when it's appropriate and why.
So the reverse shoulder replacement came about because there are people that have two problems with their shoulder. They have arthritis and a rotator cuff tear.
Okay.
So the rotator cuff is important to help the shoulder move and also maintain the stability of the joint. Most other joints, if there's a tear of the muscle, it doesn't work at all, but people can actually compensate for a rotator cuff tear and still lift their arm up.
Okay.
But the joint does not function mechanically as it normally does, and that can cause eventually arthritis in the shoulder. And when you have both, trying to replace it with a simple replacement or an anatomic replacement, the results were not very good.
Okay.
The pieces would loosen and you'd need another surgery, or you didn't and once we determined that that was the case, then we didn't really have an option for people with those problems until the reverse replacement was designed. It was initially conceived in the 1960s when a lot of joint replacements were being designed. The problem was that the technology had not caught up with the problem, so it fell out of favor for a while until the 90s when someone in France redesigned and redeveloped the reverse replacement. And the technology was there to now help this replacement function and last.
So from what I've heard, these kinds of replacements improve people's qualities of life exponentially for quite a while.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that, particularly with the reverse replacement, there has been an actual exponential growth of the number of shoulder replacements that are done in the United States and worldwide, because we didn't have an option for those people. And there was a large population of those people that we couldn't treat with a replacement.
What can I actually expect from a shoulder replacement? What's the experience going to be like for us? Because I've actually heard people who have had it. I told you one of my friends just recently had it, and she said it was life-changing, amazing. Yeah. And then I hear people who are like so apprehensive because they've heard from 1980 a shoulder replacement.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times there's confusion of what was actually done for the patient.
Fair. Okay.
And we always hear, I have patients come in with apprehension because they hear nightmare stories about shoulder surgery, but the majority of shoulder surgeries that we do are for rotator cuff tears.
Okay.
And that recovery is a lot different than a replacement. Replacements, first and foremost, are done for any joint for pain relief. Okay. So most people with shoulder arthritis have a lot of pain before their surgery. So after the surgery, the pain typically is not as bad.
Got it.
Because they're living with a level of pain that is pretty high, and once the replacement goes in, that pain goes away. So you're just dealing with the surgical pain. So I think that the recovery is a little faster for people that have a replacement than a rotator cuff repair because of that pain level that they're living with. And in the shoulder, you have a secondary gain of improved motion most of the time. Okay. Because when the shoulder gets arthritic, the ball becomes more like a square peg in a round hole. The bone spurs that form prevent rotation of the shoulder, and you lose that motion. So when you recreate a smooth surface, that allows the shoulder to move better. Most other joints, their motion improves somewhat, but a lot of times the preoperative motion is what is expected postoperatively, particularly for knee replacements. So if you have bad knee motion before surgery, you're not going to have great motion after.
How does it work with you when I go in for surgery? What are my expectations? Do I go home 5 days, 2 days, 1 day? And then what about therapies to get me moving again?
Most patients up until a couple of years ago stayed overnight. Okay. And part of that was insurance reasons because Medicare did not view a shoulder replacement as an outpatient surgery where people could go home the same day.
Got it.
Hips and knees started first as outpatient surgeries, and finally shoulder replacements have been designated as an outpatient procedure, so people can go home now. And then most people can go home, just depends on your medical history.
Absolutely.
Because we do the surgeries with a nerve block, so you wake up without any pain typically.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know, once the surgery is done, most people can go home fairly comfortably.
Okay.
And the pain level is bad for maybe a day or two, but most people are off their pain medicines after a day or two.
Then when did they come back? Yeah.
I usually see them about 12 days after the surgery.
Oh, wow. Am I moving up to there, or am I?
Every doctor, I think, is a little different.
Okay.
I'm more conservative in my approach to the post-operative
See,
recovery.
I love that. A good yeah.
I want things to heal. And
sure.
Starting to move right after you have surgery is just going to aggravate the soft tissue and create more pain, in my opinion.
Okay.
And fortunately, shoulders are, again, because of their mobility, are fairly forgiving joints, so that if you get a little stiff from not moving right away, that motion tends to come back with time. So we can give a little bit of time for the soft tissue to heal, for the inflammation and pain to get better before we start moving the joint and getting your motion back. So I like to keep people in a sling for a few weeks.
Okay.
Start slowly working on stretching.
Okay.
And then later on, about 6-8 weeks, we start strengthening. But by 3 months, people are usually able to get back to their activities as they feel comfortable.
Is it an appropriate question to say, like, how long does a joint replacement last?
That's a very good question. The shoulder replacements are, again, there's two different types. So the anatomic replacement, the
I know that now.
main reason that you need another surgery is because that socket loosens. So we haven't fully solved the socket problem, but the technology and the data are coming in that some options may be better than others.
Got it. Makes sense.
But even with that being a problem, 90% of people never have another surgery in the first 10 years after their procedure. So 90% at 10 years, it goes down to about 80% at 20 years, but that still means 80 out of 100 people have never had a surgery in 20 years. So it's pretty good. It's not as good as hip and knees are now.
Okay.
But the reverse may be better because it goes in a little bit differently than the anatomic replacement.
Got it.
We're able to use the body's natural healing ability to grow into the pieces. Similar to how hip replacements are done now, and that improved the longevity of hip replacements, in addition to the bearing surfaces, the plastic and metal that we use. Particularly the plastic has improved in its durability, so it doesn't wear out as easily.
Okay.
And so that has helped increase the longevity of the pieces. But with the reverse, if the metal and the bone fuse together strongly, you may never need another surgery.
Need it again. I'm so curious. We have two shoulders.
Yes.
Right? And I hear all the time, if you need one knee replacement, maybe you need another knee replacement, the same with hips. Do you find that people have two shoulder replacements, or do we tend to use one shoulder more? Do we have a dominant shoulder?
We have a dominant arm.
Okay.
And so we're using that for a lot of our activities, particularly, like you mentioned, pickleball, tennis, our overhead activities. We tend to use our dominant arm for those activities. So that overhead activity can cause the tissue to wear out a little faster. With arthritis, that tends to be
it doesn't discriminate between
a symmetric event, because there's some reason why the shoulder cartilage wears out.
Okay.
We don't know exactly why. You make sense that a hip or a knee would wear out because we're walking on our legs all the time, but we don't walk on our hands. So the stresses and forces on shoulders are not as much as on our hips and knees. So why they wear out, we don't really know. We're not fully aware of yet. We have some theories about muscle strength and balance, and again, stability that causes arthritis to occur, and that usually occurs symmetrically, because whatever that cause is, it's usually a genetic or a person-specific reason, and so that will cause both shoulders to wear out.
Is there an age or an activity that people do that is really tough on shoulders specifically?
Younger people, it's more contact sports.
Got it.
Weightlifting can cause problems.
Got it.
As we age, again, the
It's
tissues
age,
just
right.
tend to get a little bit worn out over time. They get stiffer, and eventually they can start to tear. So overhead activities, overhead lifting do put more stress on the shoulder. So I tend to tell people to avoid that if they can. Certainly if they're going to be doing overhead activities, they want to make sure that those rotator cuff muscles are in really good shape. And that requires doing exercises that isolate those muscles, not just weightlifting.
Well, that makes sense.
Because when you weightlift and you do heavier activities, you're using muscle groups and not isolating those specific muscles.
In our last 30 seconds or so, do you have a takeaway when it comes to treating the shoulder and when you really would like us to come in?
Again, it's really patient dependent. It's
Okay.
when it's interfering with your quality of life, because our job as orthopedic surgeons is mainly to improve quality of life. There's very few orthopedic emergencies, so when you're not happy, you come see me and I'll make you happy.
Doc, thank you so much for chatting with us. It's really been interesting. Thank you all for visiting us today here on Healthy Living.